Hey, moving on to the next game, we have Dusty versus Vanir. Two teams that are in the middle of the pack, or maybe outside of playoffs, we don't know on week 3. But what can we talk about these teams? Because Dusty, they're looking mean.
Yeah, Dusty looked mean on 12-9. Then 12-10 rolled around, and yes, they might have had a couple of hiccups. I think, like we kind of heard from DenVoksne in particular, just need more time on the patch, and I feel like we'll see the same level of Dusty that we saw in week 1, the very decisive, very clinical Dusty. But I am curious at how they'll approach it via the draft, right? Like we said.
I think they
wanted more time for it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think they have the insane talent on the roster to back it up too, for sure. Yeah. Like, I feel like DenVoksne, unlucky split he had in Spain. I think we can all agree on that. But we know what he's capable of. We've seen it as well in the NLC. And I think pairing it up with Stend as well, who's like really good in solo queue, coming in with a lot of hype as well on the competitive scene. I think we've only just scratched the surface. And having Kerberos back in the north really just offers you a lot of flexibility in a patch where we only talk about flexibility so far.
It's a KO patch, and they have Kerberos. I don't know what else to say, really. It's written in the stars.
It is a good angle coming in from Dusty, but they're against Vanir, and we do have some words specifically from the players of Vanir to tell us how they think this match is going to go. Take a look.
I mean, Dusty is also looking decent on paper, I would say. Like, they have some talented players. Of course, like, Kerberos is always going to be interesting to have on your team or play against, because this guy plays so many world champions. Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to play them and see what their level is at. I never played against Backlund before, but from what I heard, it's like decent mid. But yeah, I don't really have an opinion on it of him because I haven't played him, and I haven't really heard that much about him either. So, but I think it's like a solid mid laner for the NLC.
I love how they are talking about Backlund. Like, I don't know what to expect of him. We didn't get to see a lot of him, but during this season, I believe he's one of the shiniest members of Dusty so far. One of the remaining members from the previous split, and now he's shining.
Yeah, it was definitely very interesting to see so much of the Dusty roster sort of, be divided and split off. Very cool to at the very least maintain Backlund, like you say. And I feel like the roster that's been built around him is it's just really solid. It's star-studded almost, you can say, right? And I think that's always what's going to make Dusty such a scary team, no matter what, is you can always look towards the bottom side and say, okay, DenVoksne, kind of scary, very much carry potential. Same thing for Kerberos and Backlund. We saw that from Spring already, what he's capable of when he gets resources. And hell, even in the jungle role as well, which is something we don't get to say about a lot of junglers. Linkus kind of half made a name for himself on some of these carry junglers out in the other heroes.
But I'm also looking in the opposite direction. I'm looking at Ericsson, right? This is a guy that, we haven't really seen him in the north for the longest time, but this is a guy that's been around since I competed as a coach, right? Like I've been in matches against this guy, and he's been been as like a franchise player, standout player, if that was a thing we could say back then, for the longest time ever. And he was always one of these players that, when he plays UK, he was known as like the Giant Slayer, and I think Envision or something like back then, because they were the one who would take down the strongest guy. Yes, Barrage, yes, of course. So once again, just like a player that has the capabilities on a really good day, and I think this is just a guy that has not been talked about enough. I'm hoping that he can get back to form, because on a good day, well, then Ericsson has been looking really scary.
I'm going to do everybody a favor and do the caster start the game. I'm going to press the button.
Oh, nice.
So we can finally get into Champion Select to see what the teams are going to pick. Dusty versus Vanir, you don't go anywhere, and start spamming on the chat who you think is going to take it. It is a KO patch. Obviously, she has been banned on the previous game.
KOB1, or just on the... It's going to get banned. I think, from what I've been seeing from, particularly in China, it's been like, it's starting to get banned basically every blue side team. I'm not sure how it's landing in other ERLs. We still need to see how teams have adapted going into week 2. But it seems like it's just like borderline pickle ban right now, because it's just so hard to punish.
And I think so far with the bans we have coming through, Diana has been an interesting champion to me, because while she was buffed a little bit on the shielding and some of the damage coming through, burst assassins haven't really flourished on this patch. Like, majority of Dianas I've seen dive in don't do much, and then die. So it's a curious one to see, but maybe it's something that we've seen in scrims that you know, just kind of half flourish. So far on the Dusty side though, Talia so far makes sense, right? It's one of the champions we talked about. Gwen, once again, these two seems like so far the red side stable that we're getting. And after that, yes, you got the likes of Wukong, you got the likes of Viego if that's what you're going for. But these two specifically has been very volatile and dangerous on the patch so far.
Kayle is still open. Maybe we get to see it, and you were talking about it.
I don't think we're ever, like, I don't think we'll see that specific blind pick Kayle. I mean, well, okay, Jamada, was it going to be blind pick though?
I think the problem is on red side is really powerful because you can pick it on 3 and then you can ban away 2 champions you don't want to have to deal with, and it's effectively just turns into a safe blind. Wukong will be followed up with that, so curious. Senna, all right, yeah. So obviously banned away blue side last game, not banned away here, and Vanir will snap that one up. So expect to see probably one of the pairings, right? Sion perhaps, and then Dusty. Yeah, the Viego is probably what I'd expect to answer at the very least.
I've seen the Senna with loads of things at this point already, right?
Yeah.
We've seen the Sion a couple times here in our own league, but I mean, once again, I take a look at the Spanish league again. We've seen it paired up with Ashe because Ashe gives it an auto attack, Senna gives it a Q.
God,
it's just like that. You slow on, slow on, slow on, slow on. You just kite them around with the extra range.
Okay.
Now, Ezreal coming through can give you more safety for the Ezreal to farm into the center lane, but it can also give more leeway to the pairing you will have because Ezreal is not one of these AD carries that will punish specifically.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I remember all the way back in sort of like season 10-ish when Senna first came out. One of the champions that absolutely got dominated in lane was Ezreal, so definitely looking to play safety, like you say, in lane. Once the second item comes online for Ezreal, Miramana, Triforce, or Divine Sun, or whatever it will be, that's when Ezreal really starts to have his own agency in a lane like this. Lilia, the other really big broken champion on the patch, is here. Very excited to see Krax on that one. You can really outpace in the Viego matchup, but again, it's about getting to that point where Viego starts to potentially fall behind, but it's all about the skirmishing for the Viego side.
Lilia is just so disgusting. She's got one of the fastest clears at the moment. You go Conquer Runner, you go Riftmaker, then you just build straight up tank if you want to. You can go Force of Nature, you can go Demonic Embrace like this. Frozen Heart, like it's just very cheap itemization, super high value for, you know, pretty much nothing. So that's why one of the reasons that this champion's been picked so much. But it also opens up for AD champions in the mid lane, and specifically Ericsson is one of the few mid laners that's very happy about the Aurelius, very happy about the Yone. So I'm kind of expecting that to get banned out, or at least looked upon by Vanir if it's open.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think even from last split where we saw Ericsson on Verdant, even though Verdant as a team in Division 2 was really struggling, Ericsson was one of the few key members that actually tried to keep the team afloat. And yeah, in his champion pool occasionally, even though yes, it was predominantly mages, sometimes you see things like the Aurelia, even like the Yone, which I think could fit kind of okay here. Mostly squishies, things that can get jumped on and set up by the sleep from Lilia. And it's definitely a pairing that we've seen a couple of times. Now removed away, I think that definitely makes a whole bunch of sense. Expecting to see a lot of sort of safe laners taken off of Hesera's champion pool so that Kerberos can probably get a very powerful R5 counter pick.
Oh, 100%, but it's still the fact that, you know, this sign, it's still viable very much in the top lane. Like, he's one of the champions that when you look across win rates across the few leagues that has played so far, in the top lane, he's actually doing very well, together with On Still specifically, and there you have it, at least Yone getting banned away here, and I think that's just very sensible when you think of the Lilia-Yone pairing. We've seen it a couple of times as well in Div 2 with Unique coming through with Shafty and Eden as well, bringing that out quite a lot. So I think it's still a pairing that is respected and should be banned away.
GP is going to kick the bucket right now as well. That's one I was looking for, maybe for the top lane to try and get that disengage or help for Kerberos. We could get some spicy ones, but they're saving the last pick for Kerberos, obviously.
Expectation is, yes. We'll see a lot of poke if they want to go for the Zoe route. So what I now maybe expect is some kind of a duelist out of Curb is maybe my read on this. So you have a lot of poke, a lot of sort of disengage, and you're looking to maybe win out on the side lane, or you just fully commit to the poke comp with maybe something a little more utility based up in the top side left.
That's the thing, right? Because on Dusty, you have yourself cut out for that poke comp where you have to play around with the spacing. Right now, no go buttons, okay?
No.
You're relying on the sleep, and when that's the case, if you have a composition just runs you down and you don't have the getaway for it, this will be very difficult to pilot. So they're reliant on being the one who's kind of the first on the objective already. Whatever they kind of pick as the R5 here, I don't think it's going to solve that situation too much. They will still rely on the backline damage coming through.
tricks.
Okay,
there you go.
This is great. This is great. Okay, because this opens up for loads of opportunities, right? This could still be Sion down towards the bot lane, but Senna, Seraphine is disgusting because of the Q being a slow, and then if you hit your WE with the Senna, it not only roots, but it also stuns afterwards. It creates so much spacing, and currently any champion can be flexed around right now on Vanir, but the R5 to come through there really opens up for a side lane.
Yeah, that's why I kind of called out for it, because I think you either commit with full poke comp or you go down this route where you have the core 4 and then something that's always going to outscale whatever you see on the opposite side. And Fiora is perfect. Whatever matchup she ends up in, whether it's the Sion, whether it's the Aatrox,
it's a good matchup.
It's just a good matchup. So I expect Linkus to probably just kind of sit his lane, just make sure that he gets as free and isolated 1v1 as possible, or if the opportunity arises, just outright gank him, get the Fiora ahead, because as soon as the Fiora gets ahead, nothing is going to match it post 2 Ions, and that's going to be a very scary issue for Vanir to have to eventually answer.
This is something that really just reminds me of 2020 Samsung Morningstars at European Masters United back then would put a lot of Sion in the mid lane. You would have like Senna towards the bot side as well with, I think, Gooby and Click was the bot lane back then, but still either way, it's something we've still seen in the past. It's not a new set concept coming through, even though it seems weird with this champion pool coming through from the side of Dusty here. But either way, I think you're completely right. Having that Fiora R5 there really opened up for a strong side that was going to win no matter what.
Ticking time bomb.
Yes.
Challenge was thrown by Vanir, and Dusty accepted on the top lane with the Fiora for the split pusher. Let's see if this is going to pay out. But to see that, we need to jump into Summoner's Rift, and that's why we're sending it to Viperun alongside Treble Link.
Nice, I like that a lot. Javon knew what was going on there. That's all the analysis to gain this game.
Yeah.
It's fair. It's very reasonable. I looked at the draft and I was like, I came in a couple of minutes later, just getting a touch up, making myself look beautiful. Someone else was making me look presentable.
You always look beautiful.
Thank you. But I look more beautiful than usual. And we find our way on the drift. But the start of the draft, I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And they finished it. I was like, oh, we're doing some things with champions, aren't we?
Okay, honestly, I feel like the Senna, Seraphine bot lane was bound to happen, especially on 12-10, because even though they're both very squishy, durability patch makes them a lot more tanky in the early game. And also, because they have these two sustain / push / poke champions, they can match the sustain and perma-push that an Ezreal Karma bot lane does have, which allows Lilia to stay a little bit more safe in her jungle. Because if we look in the mid lane, backland onto the Zoe, it's going to be perma-shove in the lane. If you look in the bot lane, Ezreal Karma want to be perma-shove in the lane. And then you've got a Fiora towards the top side of the map for Dusty with an Ignite that wants to be played for. So all of these hard shoving and priority lanes can move further in, word, and then you can have your jungle playing towards the top side of the map for the Fiora to keep her safe, right? But if you look on the other hand side, you see Vanir with a perma-scaling composition.
Yes.
Lilia scales really well. Aatrox is an absolute monster into the late game when the healing comes in. Talk about healing, you've got a Senna, you've got a Seraphine in there, Sion with the ever-scaling HP as well, Senna with the ever-scaling stacks too. I think, does this go late game? Vanir's composition will be just so difficult to kill because on the side of Dusty, you just do not have consistent damage. You do not have a hyper carry that will shred through the heals and shields and HP bars. You've got pure poke and burst with the Zoe and the Ezreal, and I don't think it's going to be enough when you've got a 10,000 HP Sion soaking up all of that poke.
I'm looking towards this and I'm looking at Linkus especially and being like, okay, in the late game, you're going to have to do a lot of heavy carrying. Are we going to see this Viego getting as fed as the one we saw last game? And unfortunately, we saw how that turned out for that Viego. But we're moving into the Rift and just keeping our eyes across all the lanes. Kerberos, of course, Jamada, when he was saying, look, you've got a composition that's poke and then you've got the one split push. And I was like, this man has seen Kerberos play before. Because back in the day, this is a little aside. Back when I first joined the esports scene, I was an observer in a league that Kerberos was in.
Did he play his infamous Cho'Gath Trinity Force?
He played Cho'Gath at least once, and he was playing Kayle, but we had to have an observer in games that he was in, just following him. Because occasionally, he wouldn't join his team. He's like socially distancing on the Rift at all times.
He's doing it properly.
And he occasionally would just be like, I'm just going to 1v2. And we'd be like, well, we need to catch that on camera, so we need someone who's just like directed cam Kerberos in case he does something crazy.
So he's the Kim Kardashian of his teams?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
You need a camera constantly behind.
Yeah. You need to just be like, there's a reality show where we just follow Kerberos around and see what what he's up to day to day. I would watch that show. Might be the only one.
The Kerberos.
But I'm excited to see what he does later on, because again, he might be someone that they need to rely on a little bit, because as you say, it's that burst, it's not those hyper-scaling carries that we're used to seeing. But the junglers are going to be having a little scrap already. Kriox needs to be a little careful as Linkus just have the health advantage on him and will be able to steal away the Grom.
And we mentioned that from the start, Buckland on the Zoe, he's going to have perma prior. And the only prior you're actually going to get, or maybe a shoving lane, is towards the bot side of the map for Kriox. But look at top lane. Kerber's pushing on the Fiora, Buckland pushing with the Zoe, bot lane even pushing for Dusty as well. That gives Linkus such a very open window to grab one or even two of his solo laners and just try to invade, taking Kriox's jungle away.
And there's that priority, as you mentioned. It's what we were expecting to see, but now utilizing that very effectively. Great start from the Dusty jungler. And as we mentioned already in the pre-show, and the casters were mentioning it as well, the idea that Dusty didn't adapt to the patch particularly well. But if they can go into this game and grab themselves a win, maybe they've had a little bit more time scrimming, they understand what they're doing a little bit more, their focus is definitely here rather than on 12.9, where they were very, very good, then we're going to be seeing, hopefully, a different side to Dusty this game.
Yeah, and I think right here, when we talk a lot about junglers as well, Linkus has been one of these moving gears for Dusty that makes things happen for them, especially when he's on more aggressive, proactive junglers. Right now onto the Viego, he has to do nothing but farm. This is why it's so important and it's such an integral part of the composition that he has so many hard shoving lanes. The fact that he's able to walk into Kriox's jungle, grab the Krag away, means that his two camps, he's one camp up onto that Lilia. He's gonna be very soon level 5. Level 4 of Kriox, Kerberos, calculated.
I don't know if that's calculated or lucky. I'll give it up. I don't know. I'm not sure, but he does get away.
Flash taken, calculated.
And he doesn't even have flash. Yeah, Curb, genius. Once again, coming in on the top side and has that summoner advantage. If he wants to utilize it, will be teleporting back in. You've got to imagine that Hazira with the wave where it is might want to do the same, but Stend is going to take a little bit of poke from the Vanir bot lane. The Seraphine and Senna, as we talked about, can go blow for blow with this Ezreal Karma. So very interesting adaptation to put those down there instead. Ericsson mid on the Scion, who, as you can see, is keeping up relatively well at farm. Linkus, that's an aggressive flash over the wall. Want to try to get Gak down onto Vanir's bot lane. Zaremba and Mirbs already in retreat. Can Linkus find his way onto Senna, who flashes away and does manage to escape?
Disaster from Linkus right there. We had Noodle do this last split in spring, where he would literally take his red buff from red side, then flash through the Baron pit and invade blue. But Linkus tried to pull out a very cheeky gank right there, loses his flash, but takes triple summoner from the side of Vanir. Mind you though, that is pre-6, so he has a very tight window if he wants to repeat that gank, because later on with the Senna and Seraphine ultimates, it's going to be extremely hard to approach, especially since the bot lane with Ezreal and Karma doesn't have a lot of setup for him.
Yeah, they really have very little. The Karma running forward and getting a chain on is what they're going to be working with, you've got to imagine, but that's not going to be the same as going towards the likes of a Zoe, or even the likes of a Fiora have a little bit more ability to have agency when the gank is coming through, but Linkus just going to return to farming as all good junglers do. Kerberos stacking up a huge wave on the top side as Azero going to be able to pick this one up, but it's certainly been a quieter early game than what we saw in game number 1.
Yeah, I feel like this could have also been a big window if you want to dive, because look at that, Backline has moved towards the top side of the map. He has a rocket belt on him. You see Linkus is level 5. You see that Hesera was level 5 at that point versus level 6 Fiora with an Ignite. So you take Zoe towards the top side of the map, you take Viego, you get that Fiora level 6 with the Ignite. And I think you just put that Aatrox further behind. That was triple wave that was stacking up with a cannon right there. But again, 12.10, a lot of teams do not want to take the risk. This tower's hurt a lot, and if this Aatrox, by any miracle, was able to take 1 or 2 kills away with him, this could have flipped around really quickly.
Absolutely. And just taking stock of what we're seeing across the Rift, seeing if there's going to be any plays around stuff like Dragon or Rift Herald coming up very, very shortly, but
Alcove Gaming?
you know, is he going to make it work? These are the questions. I've seen a lot of Alcove Gaming not work.
I'll say he doesn't have the flash to flash through that wall yet.
He's also been called out as a ward, which isn't necessarily optimal. Good game sense from Hazero, just saying, look, I feel like something's up, just giving himself some defensive measures, and will catch out Linkus for doing so. But neutral objectives haven't been touched yet. Kriox knows where the enemy jungler is and has started moving down towards that dragon, but his bot lane's not in a super great position to help, but are putting down some poke.
And I think this is the correct timing right here to try and establish a little bit more vision towards the bot side of the map. This is why you will see Ericsson together with Krayox moving in, putting some vision further into Linkus' jungle. But
Drowsy gonna cleanse away from Krayox's ultimate, the losing lullaby, and will be able to flash away.
So how's your solo queue been going?
Bad. Why?
Just asking, because this game is going to be one of these ones that is probably decided by Elder Dragon.
My match history is horrible.
I baited you hard.
It's not good. And
let's not talk about mine. Oh my god!
Oh my word, here we go, some action. Stand goes low, but does manage to survive, and it's going to be first blood going over to Mirbs as they move up towards the dragon area. Dusty were looking to retake, but can't find it, and are forced to back out.
Hey, if you cast the Cursed, you might get some action.
Genius.
That was, thank you very much. That was every single summoner from the Dusty bot lane. They end up killing Stand as well. The kill goes over to Seraphine. The faster you go towards your items, the better it will be. I'm expecting maybe Mirbs to go for some more AP-oriented items. I don't know if he necessarily wants to go towards that Moonstone so he can keep Aatrox alive when he goes in for these trades. But you do have a lot of zoning potential right there. So even if you went towards something like the Leandris, it could also work. It's going to be the Lost Chapter, so I'm expecting for the Seraphine to go towards the Leandris indeed.
There's going to be Dusty moving towards the Rift Herald first and foremost off the back of that not optimal play in the bot lane, giving up first blood, but they will be able to secure themselves this neutral objective. It doesn't look like Kreox might not even be aware of this one. Is in the neighborhood, but not going to search it out, and Linkus should be able to secure this one, and that's going to be quite nice to try and crack open a couple of towers or get some plates at the very least and grab some money back into the pocket of the Icelandic side.
Yeah, exactly, and you lose nothing, right? There is no counterplay right there. The Dragon was up, but it's not taken away from Vanir. Top lane has been pushed, mid lane has been pushed, bot lane hasn't lost any CS, even though Stan roamed all the way to the mid lane together with DenVoksne. So that was a really worth herald in terms of like putting in the effort and the numbers and the time. I was lost for words right there. I found them last second.
It's one of those things where, yeah, the bot lane play doesn't look great for Dusty, but then they turn it around and say, look, we're going to try and get more gold off this Herald than you got off First Blood.
They got nothing from it. I was expecting to see maybe a Dragon go down for them, but then again, if you look at the champions they're playing a Sion, a Seraphine, a Senna, a Lilia. You don't necessarily shred through HP bars of neutral objectives. So again, generally, when you look at the Vanir lineup, you expect them to get their advantage through team fights that will come later on. So look at these Dragon fights and look at these Herald fights probably, and you will see them trying to play around the Seraphine ult, the Senna ult, the Sion ult, ways that they can actually engage fights, stay alive, get that CC, win the fight, and then maybe transition it into an objective.
And how Dusty are going to play around the composition that Vanir have built as well, because when you know that the enemy team is going to be so great at taking down fights, as DenVoksne goes reasonably low, but should be able to sit back safely and just recall. I want to see how Dusty are going to be able to play at range, avoid the damage that's coming from Vanir, and even take the fight to them when things are looking a little bit scrappy in the late stage, where, as you mentioned earlier, all of this really powerful long-term scaling starts coming into effect.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit difficult. I'm assuming the plan right here is that your Zoe is so fed, your Ezreal are so fed that the damage that you're going to put down is just not going to be healed that easily from a Seraphine Senna. But that's a little bit difficult, right? Because you've got double healing and shielding coming through the bot lane of Vanir, and then you've also got this mega tangle which Ericsson will become later on. He's got his Frostfire Gauntlet right now, so he can very easily face check a lot of this damage coming from the Zoe, coming from the Ezreal. I think a lot of these fights are going to have to be Kerberos on a side lane, potentially getting something while his team is trying to play it safe.
And again, we talked about this last game across the map, looking at the main map saying, look, this fight will go either way. It might be good, it might be neutral. Hopefully it's not too bad, but if Kerb can get 2 plates in the early stages, or Kerb can get a tower and an uncontested wave, maybe that's worth if we just lose one member and don't allow them to snowball it into a later Dragon or Baron. So this is maybe how Dusty wants to play. This is how the competition's built. We'll have to see if it pays off.
But here's the thing, right? For Kerberos to be able to be so strong in the side lane, you need to be able to win on a side lane. And right now, Hess0 has not been deprived of any farm, of any gold. He's not been dived, he's not been threatened at all. He's equal level with Kerberos. He's been farming a Storm as well, only 10 CS behind. And if you look at Ericsson, he's going to be so tanky that he's just going to be able to soak up damage like this.
And Dusty going to be able to throw down that poke and a little bit of damage. Won't be able to take Ericsson down, the Star, as you mentioned. Just, he's too tanky, bro. You can't do anything with him.
He's got one item. I feel like for Dusty to be slowing down the pace right here is sort of a mistake. You need to use that Viego level 6. You need to use assassination potential. You need to use backline, hurting people with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. And right now, Hezero has finally become the target for Dusty, but there's 3 more members moving upwards through the jungle.
Looks like they're listening to you, but Vanir are looking to defend him. A lot of damage going down onto that Rift. How does Triox moves in, tries to get the ultimate down, will send a couple of members to sleep. It's going to be the Karma that's in trouble, though, as people dive over the wall. It's going to be Hezero securing the kill onto the support. The first tower did go down to the Rift Elder's backline. Now needs to be careful as Aatrox continues the charge, moving forward, but can't find the knockups that he needs. It's just going to be 1 kill to Vanir for the tower.
Yeah, and a bounce of tower platings going towards Kerberos as well. But again, at the end of the day, it's pretty even. There's like, what, 600 gold separating the 2 teams right now. And again, I will be favoring Vanir when it comes to these team fights. You see that Hezero actually is pretty even in golden experience. 1 kill going over to Kraox as well, onto that Lilia. Once you've got that Rift Maker as well, it's just gonna start hurting. You can go Demonic later on. You can go towards Hourglass, the guy said it as well. You can go towards so many different build paths. You can build Frozen Heart right here and literally destroy Fiora, Viego, and Ezreal, all 3 in one item. But I'm assuming it might just be a little bit easier if Ericsson goes for that Frozen Heart, because he's going to be playing in their face, and then maybe allow Lilia to go towards a more defensive path like the Hourglass or the Demonic.
Absolutely, and giving that little bit of extra tankiness across the team when you've got the Seraphine and the Senna who are going to be at the back, just buffing you up and keeping you alive. So if you've got a little bit to weather through the burst, as it were, you know that the support's going to start coming in, especially if you're someone like Kraox who might get caught out as a priority target. Of course, Ericsson's not really he's not the priority, and if he can't get caught out because he's just such a large lad, it's going to be quite difficult for Dusty to break through these team fights and skirmishes, even at relatively early stages.
Dusty right here are pulling a 4-man gang towards the bot side, and Vanir just walking away.
Zeren might be in a little bit of trouble.
Walking away.
The enemy team needs to be careful, but here comes Sion diving on forward, sending Backland away, but he's going to be sent to sleep. Goes drowsy, but gets that shield and will be able to march backwards. Lingers to and fro, thinking about engaging, won't be able to find it. Backland now going to try and move forward to grab something, a bit of poke down, but again, Sion does not care. More damage going down onto him, but he's just now been taken below half health. And Dusty, they do a reasonable amount at this stage of the game, but it doesn't look like it.
It just feels like they're trying to make something happen, but it's just not enough, because when Linkers went towards the bottom of the map, we're like, okay, he took Mirbs and Zaremba's both summoners. That means they're extremely squishy, they're extremely immobile. Hezero might have been caught in the jungle.
He's not as tanky. He might be in a little bit of trouble. It's just Linkers doing damage right now as members move through, but he needs to be careful because Zaremba has been caught out. A bit of damage coming through from Zoe, but Ericsson turns attention towards the rooted Astral, and the damage coming through. It's a dunk from Hezero to secure the kill on Linkers. Dusty trying to pull the trigger, but they just can't find anything. And Vanir once again capitalize.
Yeah, again, you see how tanky Ericsson is. They literally walked him down the entirety of the bot side river with a bunch of poke, a bunch of Sleepy Trouble Bubbles. The Qs were landing from Zoe. Everyone was onto him. They literally just scratched him. So Vanir right here, they're going to take the kill. They're going to chase away the remaining members. They're going to take mid lane tower. They're going to take the second Herald. And I think, even though this game looks to be very even in gold right now, it is very much in Vanir's hands just because of the composition they're running. I think unless Kerberos goes absolutely crazy on the sideline and somehow Dusty managed to stall a bunch of the fights and fix the waves in a way where Vanir cannot actually access any towers and any pressure on the map, then yeah, maybe Kerberos can do something on the side. But at this point, Hezero is gonna back after this wave, probably buy his item, which means he can side lane versus Kerberos. Ericsson can even be on a side lane versus Kerberos. So it's going to become a difficult win condition to just have Kerberos bail you out through a side lane.
It's looking harder and harder as this game moves slowly forward. It's definitely not the same pace that we saw in game number 1, but hey, League of Legends, you've got to get a bit of variety in you. Maybe it's the slow games where the action hits different when you get that huge team fight in the latter stages. But right now, Vanir, they're super happy with this game being slow. They don't really mind if nothing happens for the next 5-10 minutes, as long as they're the ones trying to control these objectives. It's Infernal Soul, which could be massive.
But You guys can tweet us your drafts. We made our own drafts. Schoolwalk and Jamada made their own drafts, and I'm gonna press the first button.
Okay.
See who drafted what.
Oh, that's it.
It is not. There we go.
there's
Yes. I'm not gonna try to pronounce the name because I'm probably going to butcher it, but that looks like a pretty darn good lineup to me.
I have an issue with
Shikari, EU Masters. Dan, arguably the best jungler we have in the league. Tempt, insane performance at EU Masters as well. Chrisberg, he's my boy, I have nothing else to say. And of course Stan, that's had a fantastic performance so far, right next to DenVoksne. Unfortunately, not having the best one here, but hey.
Chrisberg
Can't have it
beat me
all.
in a qualification game once, so I haven't got over it.
You know what, I'm a
Was it like
big
2015?
fangirl of Chrisberg, so I can't say anything bad
Likes
about
lasagna. this was the joke, because when we were playing him, we saw the roster we were up against and we were like, no. And we looked at Wikipedia, and his Wikipedia says, Chrisberg loves lasagna. You were like, that's funny. And then it hasn't changed. So I went back on when I was in my prep for this split of NLC, and I was like, he still loves his
We
lasagna.
need to ask him in an interview if he actually still loves lasagna.
There's content to be made. If we can get Chrisberg to like a kitchen, I will go to Chrisberg's kitchen and we will make lasagna together. And I'll just blankly stare at him and say,
NLC Twitch stream.
oh, cooking with Chrisberg. NLC, there's something there. I'm giving you content ideas for free. It's brilliant.
If we could ask our producer to please write that down, note it.
I'll write that down here, don't worry.
All right,
I've
great.
got that here, so...
Thank you very much. Meanwhile, Vanir have decided to use the Herald towards the top side of the map. There's no one there to defend it other than Kerberos. As you can see, Dusty actually have to bundle up in groups of 2 and 3 together to try and shove down a wave, because it becomes really difficult to just push in, especially when you don't know where the Scion is as well. And I think Dusty here might be able to push in for a tower. Zaremba was scored.
Yeah, I don't think Zera's getting out of this one alive. Kerb's doing just too much
Everyone
damage.
just back and left him to dry.
Yeah, I don't really know exactly what the logic
Okay,
was.
redemption arc. Kerberos with his first kill.
Yes.
This is where the snowball begins. We mentioned and we said that if Kerberos managed to take absolute control of his side lane, somebody's going to have to keep an eye onto that Fiora. Now, looking straight into Ericsson's inventory, I see a bunch of armor, I see a bunch of anti-heal, I potentially see there are Randuins or Frozen Heart being built, so I think Ericsson will have more than a good time being on the side lane, not necessarily 1v1 in the Fiora, but you'll be able to stand underneath your tower and clear waves, wave after wave, and you see that even Vanir want to do that. They want to put this beefy, full armor Scion on a side lane where Fiora cannot dive. On the other hand, Hezero is just picking up waves from wherever that Fiora is not, getting towards his spike as well. Gold Drinker has been purchased, getting that anti-heal right there together with the armor, going towards the death stance later on. He's going to be so huge, he's going to be healing so much. And even though, don't get me wrong, anti-healing items are pretty strong. Yes, have they been nerfed? Yes, they have. And Aatrox heals a ton together with Senna and Seraphine as well, which provide not only heals, but shields.
It's a very interesting game plan because it does look like Ericsson is kind of acting as, is going to act as this bridge, right? You put him in the side lane, you neutralize it, Kerb's like, wah,
He's
wah.
like Brom's shield.
Exactly.
He's not a champion. He's
You put him in front.
It's just a wall.
And then you're like, stand behind me, Hezero, who stands behind him and farms a little bit. And then 20 minutes later, Hezero's like, surprise, Kerb, and then just beats him up.
Okay, just so we don't make it all peachy and nice, right?
Oh, team fight. Nah, it's fine.
Okay, so just so we don't make it so peachy, right? Vanir do not necessarily have the easiest way to engage. Greg's with a flash.
Yeah, he was looking for the engage there, get some damage on the back. He needs to be careful. Kriox is caught out, will go golden to survive, and Hezero moves forward to defend him. Of course, San isn't here. He's going to have to go back to a curve. So it's big, and there's no tank there, but Link is deleted. How do Vanir keep getting away with this?
I'll tell you how they keep getting away with this. Heals, shield, gold drinkers, Aatrox. It's just crazy. You see how much Dusty threw onto these Aatrox, literally everything and the kitchen sink, and he just does not end up going down at Dusty. Really low HP bars. They're taking the TP from the sun as well. Kerberos is in the pit.
Yeah, Kerb's going to the back of the pit, but Ericsson's here as well. He's going to
1v5.
escape him, and Kerb has to slide his way out. I don't think he's going to try and flash the steal because he's a top laner, and that's the dragon secured. That was only third dragon, remember, and it's going to go to Vanir.
Yeah, and Vanir can very easily start stacking those. And again, The only sole point on Vanir's lineup is that they don't necessarily have hard engage, especially when Ericsson is on the side lane trying to stop Kerberos. They don't necessarily have somebody that can run in and try to get an engage. And you see, even when Kraox flashed in onto Buckland, Buckland had the cleanse through the spellbook. Then DenVoksne is also running the cleanse. So even if they get caught by a ball from Lilia, by a flash Q from Lilia, it'll be very easy for them to actually get out and get that out of jail free card with the cleanse.
Absolutely. Dusty is going to take down that mid lane tower, remove a little bit of safety from Vanir, because I'm a little concerned, and just looking at someone's inventory. That's the frozen heart. There it is.
He's up on the top, that's his full armor, and he's going from item to item to item.
He's just searched
Bone Mill coming up next.
How do I stop Kerberos having fun? And then buys those items.
Anti-Kerberos build.
I mean, you're Fiora, you're designed to split push, you just look at that and go, what's the point? Grow up.
I think at this point it's an anti-Kerberos build, because whether it's Fiora, whether it's Tryndamere, whether it's Darius, it just works.
Exactly. It just, you buy Anathema's chains, you stick it on Kerb, and he disconnects from the game. Because at that point, he won't be able to do anything. It's actually DenVoksne in the side lane now, just clearing out the minions that Ericsson is putting through. But notably, Ericsson no longer has teleport, so if Dusty can pull the trigger on a team fight, and we saw that they can do a decent amount of damage to everyone else at the moment.
Yeah,
maybe
they also have a decently sized wave clear amount of abilities, right? You've got the Zoe with big AoE, you've got the Karma, you've got the Ezreal that can dish a lot of damage onto the wave from a very safe distance. So Vanir do not necessarily have the easiest hard engage, and they also cannot push under towers, which means that dragon stacking is very important. Possibly baiting Dusty onto a Baron fight is very important for them, just having Dusty walk through choke points. Now, what's not with Vanir and their plan is Infernal Rift, because it's completely opened the map. The walls are much thinner, and there's big gap for Dusty to play through around Seraphine ultimates.
And lest we forget, giving them extra damage on that poke does mean that not only will they be able to attempt to chip down Ericsson a little bit faster, but if Ericsson's the last person standing, and you can get past them, you can get to Mirbs, you can get to Zaremba, and take them down in 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, then suddenly there's a big tanky frontline. Hezira is still going to be ripping through, but suddenly the Vanir roster in teamfight starts to look much less scary, and Kerberos is still pushing down in the side lane. Hezira is the one defending and actually managed to get Kerb to ult before running away.
And Demolish is a very fair rune as well. I think he took 40% of that tower's HP just with one hit. And it's insane, right? Slowly but surely, you see what we talked about. Kerberos is about 60 CS up on Hezira. He's one whole level up. He's tearing through those side lanes. He's taking 2 towers towards the top side of the map. That tower towards the bot side is the last one remaining. And then my question is, what do you do after this? Because pushing towards the inhibitor tower is going to start becoming a little bit more difficult. You're going to have to start running through Fog of War. You're going to have to light up the jungle. And they're going to have to help him with that vision so he can push in, but also make sure that he's safe pushing towards these towers and these objectives. But so far, Dusty have understood the assignment. They know they cannot necessarily win 5 versus 5. They allow Kerberos to just do his thing on the side lane.
Well, this is the thing. This is all about space creation for Dusty right now. And as we start getting towards those more important late dragons, the barons, when Dusty start getting into a position where they can threaten these objectives, suddenly it's a question of, well, are we creating space for Kerb, or is Kerb creating space for us, or is it kind of both? Especially if this Fiora gets back into a position where you can just drag San across the map.
So this is a very healthy relationship between two people. It's a give and take. Nobody gives more than the other. They both give equally and they both love each other equally. So Dusty create enough space on the map by shoving out waves and having Vanir constantly have to put away the pressure from the waves, whilst allowing Kerberos to do his magic on the side lane. And whilst Kerberos is doing his magic on the side lane, Dusty, all they have to do is just keep pressuring the waves just so Vanir cannot get onto these towers. It's a give and take, and it works beautifully so far, I believe.
It does. And DenVoksne just dancing away. Something we haven't talked about too much in this game because, once again, cameras on this man, jumping forward, getting some decent damage on those objectives. And if you can break open an inhibitor, that is disastrous for Vanir, who are then going to have to put even more resources resources into wave clear. Exxon using that ultimate, actually going to miss, but it does manage to dissuade members of Dusty for a few seconds longer. Dragon's going to be started up. Creox is there, but I'm a little bit worried. Vanir taking a whole heap of poke.
It's just so dangerous to walk through this choke point. Seraphine ultimate can hit every single one of them, but so far Dusty are just driving Vanir away.
He's going forward, going to get the Drowsy onto 2, needs to get some damage down. Will be on Vanir ultimate, the Dark Light kills onto 2. DenVoksne falls back, Link is on the other side. Vanir take that time, they find them in the choke, as you mentioned. It's not the right ability, but it's the right result.
Yeah, and Hesir is stopping Kerberos from joining the fight right here. DenVoksne and Linkers are fighting for their lives, trying to steal the dragon away. But at this point, I think Dusty need to give the soul point away to Vanir. Vanir 5 minutes away from Infernal Soul. This is absolutely huge for them. And honestly, we talked about how dangerous it is to fight into this choke point versus Seraphine, but Creox has found engage after engage on the Seraphine, and we mentioned how important it is through Spellbook for Zoe to grab that cleanse. When this time Backline was not lucky enough because he did not have the cleanse, that Voxne had just used his E as well. So Creox will see the opening when 3 people are all bounced up on the same position. You see Backline and Sten will move back into that choke point. Creox sees the opening, hits his spell, bonks them on the head and goes straight into Zonias. And every single member from Vanir is following, and honestly, it looks like this Vanir lineup is a very well-oiled machine. I feel like Creox is the leader right here, and every single person knows when and how to follow his calls. And honestly, seeing an entire new lineup coming in from Vanir, I didn't necessarily personally have any expectations from them, but it just works.
It was really, really impressive team fighting. You could see the second that the call was made, because suddenly abilities were going through, the center shroud was up, everyone turned at the same time, and it paid off dividends. They've set themselves up for that Dragon Soul point. Trouble.
My eyes went really wide right there. I was like, what?
Moonstone Senna?
I mean, why not?
I mean, your job is to heal and get these juggernaut fighters in the front line.
Okay, so when we're going into this game and we're like Seraphine Senna, this is not a fasting Senna scenario. This is a pure support Senna. This is 100% support Senna. This is not there to dish out damage. This is there to clear them up off of wards. That's why you see Umbral Glaive onto her. And this is there to make sure that she heals as much as possible, as much as creating space as well. So these heals and shields are going to be much more beefier with the Moonstone. You also allow, as the box is being chased away right there, really nice cleanse from him to get out.
I don't know if he's
Will he get out?
just yet. Ericsson seems pretty
Just about
chasing, but Kerberos did break down that in a tower bot, which was the last one standing outside the base, so the push is continuing, and they're going to have to send Ericsson back with a teleport to cut off Fiora from breaking open their base.
He just lands asleep. But I don't think you can stop Kerberos from actually taking that inhibitor tower. I think Kerberos might have to move out right here because yeah, Ericsson is really easily will clear out this wave. And of course his team, because they didn't go towards Baron, that means that Kerberos has to respect the fact that more Vanir players might be moving down. So far, so good. Again, Dusty's win con is sort of working for them. The 3,000 gold diff that you see on screen right now mean absolutely nothing. And if we see this again, I'm not sure, did Kerberos just 1v1 Hesir?
Does get a lot of damage down, actually. On the tower,
Absolutely did. I just love the fact that he pops the Ignite just as he dives him off the tower, so Hesir cannot get any of that healing through Gold Drinker and through his ultimate. So really great 1v1 right there from Kerberos. And again, Dusty's win con is Kerberos in the side lane. You need to invest somebody to stop him. If you invest Ericsson to put him into a side lane versus Kerberos, you initially lose your hard engage and your threat potential for a team fight for Vanir. If you put Hesir on side lane, well, you threaten your top laner for, like, with death.
Ericsson's threatening, but will land into the wall rather than DenVoksne. He's going to be able to jump away. No flash required this time round. Going to hurl down the ultimate to fin through Mirbs' health bar and also take down the wave as Vanir back away. But it's a war of attrition with Kerberos. We see it so frequently. He's just going to keep chipping away, eroding at your structures. And Vanir need to make big decisions.
He's playing on a very busy side of the map, even though he has teleport. It might have been wiser for him to push towards the bot side of the map, because as you can see, the only member on Vanir's lineup that has teleport right now is Hess0. And Kerberos 1v1s Hess0 on the side lane. He also doesn't have flash available onto him, so playing towards the bot side of the map, away from that Baron, maybe threatening to 1v1 Hess0 again on the side lane, could have been what would take Vanir off the map, trying to back up the top laner, right? At this point, if you do put Ericsson onto a side lane, again, you lose the threat of having that card engaged for Vanir.
I mean, my question now would be, is it worthwhile for Vanir when he's on the top side around the Baron? Hey, commit 5 members to Kerberos. Just murder him, and then you can look towards the objective.
Exactly, because you're playing towards this Baron, right? You're playing towards your old-timers. Every single one of the olds are back up for Vanir. You group up as 5 at this point. You allow Kerberos on the side lane, and they have also grouped up Hess0. Kerberos is just going straight for the inhibitor tower. No one's going to stop him.
The Dragon is up in 5 seconds. That would be Sol. Vanir might just want to make that trade, but I don't know if they're going to be able to commit too many members. Hess0 is going to go back. We know how well he defends, but the tower's gone. The inhibitor will probably follow. Zoe's going into the base as well. What is going on? Teleport coming through from more members as they try to defend. Mirbs is back on the Seraphine, but it looks like Dusty's just going to try to end this game with the backdoor. The first Nexus tower goes down. Dusty say, hey, that's well worth it for us. We're going to back away and just keep bothering you. The Dragon isn't up because there's a scrap around it as well. So no one's got the Infernal Soul just yet, but it's pulling around. Linkus actually gets the kill on Zaremba, gets himself a reset. Creox is moving forward alongside Ericsson. Now there's a teleport coming in from Kerberos, who's decided that he's going to join the fight. Stend on the side as well. They've got themselves a numbers advantage over Vanir somehow. I have no idea how they've created so many advantages so consecutively, but Creox is in full retreat. He's going to be shut down by Curb. Is this it?
They can end the game right here. They can actually choose to push through the top side of the map. They can take Baron. They can stop the Infernal Soul. They can actually finish the game right here. This is game-breaking because Dusty have managed to pull this out of thin air due to Kerberos being an unstoppable force. Yet again, what do you know? On a side lane, he takes the tower, he takes the inhibitor, he TPs back to the fight, he makes it an advantageous position for Dusty to team fight. Dusty takes the soul away from Vanir for the time being. They stuck 2 for themselves, and now it's an open inhibitor towards the top side of the map. Somebody's going to have to play towards the bot side, because I'm assuming this is where Kerberos is going to choose to go next. But right now, he doesn't necessarily have TP. So if you put him on the bot side of the map and you threaten Baron, he will not be able to join.
Kerberos is playing...
He's going to do it anyway. It's Kerberos, man.
He's playing 3D chess. The rest of us are playing checkers. Because, look at this. He's down bot. He's forcing teleports. This is the scrap that we didn't get to see. But somehow DenVoksne and Dusty come out winners in this one.
Linkus almost flashes through the wall from the Dragon and almost stops the TP from Seraphine. Had he actually achieved that, the game would have been over. And Dusty would have won the game. But yet again, I think Linkus and Stend played this really well. They delayed the fight with the soul right there that Linkus is able to pick up as well. He's getting more HP. He survives for longer. So Kerberos then can get into this fight, chase Creox away, take the smite, hold it down, and then they take away the win con, basically, from Vanir, which was that Infernal Soul.
I love how Ericsson sees the situation as like, I can't improve this, I'm out. He walks past the collapsing Kerberos. He's like, yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, Kerberos 1-4.
I mean, the Baron on the other side of the map, though, if they don't get Kerberos, this is disastrous. They're not going to get him. It's Baron on 5 for Dusty, and Vanir gain nothing.
I can't believe we're seeing Flame Horizon top side of the map. This man is unstoppable. It's crazy. They commit 4 members down the bot side to try and kill that level 18 Fiora, and it's impossible. He's playing them in their own game here, Viperun, and it is a matter of a love relationship, right? Dusty is giving to Kerberos the space to split push, while Kerberos, in return, is giving them the game.
I'm just watching this and thinking, oh, hold on, Hess0 trying to engage. Ericsson might try and engage even harder with the ult, looking towards DenVoksne, but he's not really someone you can jump onto, because he's just going to jump away, and Vanir...
Look at top, and look at bot. Dusty are pushing both simultaneously. Topside has a super minion together with Linkus, pushing it with Baron buff. And bot lane is under threat as well. Look at mid lane, they're syncing up 3 waves simultaneously from the side of Dusty. And now Vanir have to spread themselves thin on the map to try and defend all 3 lanes.
Of course, Kerberos has got a hull breaker. course he does, but Vanir looking...
I'll defend him here, was his last item.
Yeah, but
There you go.
he's still upset about it, as Linkus managed to take down the inhibitor on the top side, and now crashing those minions towards that single next town. Remember, one of them was taken on that mad TP play. Vanir just trying to defend their base, but they're being pushed further and further into it, as members of Dusty are moving towards this final standing inhibitor tower. It will fall. 2 inhibitors down. They're looking towards a third. Cracking this one open would be huge. The winning wave is going to become harder and harder to clear out, with Baron still running for a few seconds longer. It looks like Dusty can continue the assault towards this last Nexus tower. Members of Vanir are all here. There are 5 of them up. Will they be able to defend this one? Kerberos is moving towards tower. Ericsson looking to pull the trigger, looking towards Backland. He's going to be able to flash away, and now Ericsson has to reconvene with his team. The first tower goes down. The last tower goes down, rather. Linkus looks towards the Nexus, but will be fought off. Vanir are huddled around their objective. It's backs to the wall, backs to the win for Vanir, as they need to get rid of these minion waves and the members of Dusty. Teleport coming in. That's Curb full health. He's just back. What are they going to be able to defend? They can just send members back. Zoe's going to be able to teleport back in. They're resetting easier than Vanir are, as they're just going to keep
Linkus is 0 HP and he has to stay because his entire team decided to back and TP back in to end the game right here, right now. But their jungler cannot actually compete, so this is a 4 versus 5 for Dusty.
Can they do it? I'm not sure. They're going to keep the pressure on. You can see Diego running as fast as his little legs can carry him. He's like, guys, I'm coming, but it looks like Ericsson wants to pull the trigger. Look towards DenVoksne, but he's going to be able to flash away.
Oh, he's doing it.
Is running towards what will be the dragon now, as Ericsson is chased back. He's gone a little bit low for the Scion. DenVoksne is jumping away, but they will be able to get the shout onto Kerberos. That could be massive, as members of Vanir are now chasing away the remaining members. Sten has overstayed his welcome, cut down for a double. Kriox is now chasing onto Backland, looking for him. It's a triple, it's a quadra for Hezero. Now they're chasing down Linkus. His legs have turned the other direction, and he's fleeing into the jungle.
No way. No way this ends like this. No way. No way this ends like this.
Kriox on the other side, remember, it's a quadra for Hezero. Can they get the damage down? The center ultimate is going to assist them. Linkus doesn't want to give this one down, but Kriox is getting the damage as much as he can. Nice flash over the wall, and they decide not to chase. No Penta today.
Sion is coming in, drifting as well. So they've left Seraphine at the back. Ericsson is still chasing. He's going to take the tower down the bot lane. Mind you, this is still an open Nexus for Vanir. And they've got double super minions running through every single lane. Vanir are going to take that Infernal Soul. They're going to take the Quadra kill onto this Aatrox. Now the question is, how long can you hold on for? Because at this point, Dusty cannot push into your base. Vanir have the Elder Dragon. They will fight them 5-5 and they will kill them. I feel Dusty made a huge misstep right there. Linkus instantly gave the call, guys, I'm 1 HP, I cannot fight this, we cannot 4v5, we can all back, get items, get pots, get vision, walk back in. That Nexus is still gonna be naked in like 40 seconds time. Then it will take them to back, buy items, and walk down mid lane again. Huge overexertion by Dusty, and he might have cost them the game.
This is mad. 40 minutes into this one, we've got Soul on one side, no buildings for Vanir. They're just out in the open saying, we need to be careful, because I've seen
who
Curb
needs
back
buildings when you've got all neutral objectives on you?
Well, I mean,
Except Baron, fine.
Vanir might,
Maybe.
potentially. I've Curb's in the bot lane, and this is the thing though, because there's no teleports at the moment, but I'm scared. I'm not even playing and I'm scared.
Okay, so here there's 2 things that can happen.
Okay.
Kerberos backdoors,
Okay.
or Dusty loses.
Right.
In a fair 5 versus 5. Mind you, Elder Dragon still active on the Vanir members. Dusty, yes, they're pushing in those waves, but they have to be extremely cautious. I think what Dusty is waiting for right now is the Baron, but the Baron doesn't spawn for another 45 seconds, and by the time it does, they will not have double super minions running through every single lane, because one of the inhibitors would have spawned, so it breaks the streak right there. It gives Vanir enough time with that Elder Dragon buff to actually defend their base.
This is where Kerberos Space Creation comes in, because of course he's not going to go to that Baron.
Watch him sitting in that bush.
He's going to be in the bot lane, and he's going to be pushing towards that
Just
next.
chilling down there.
And we know that there's not going to be 3 inhibitors up, so Nexus will be targetable, because that top lane one was cleared just before the fight kicked off last time in the base. So keep your eyes around that Baron who decides to go towards it, because Vanir are going to have to commit members if they want to try and contest it, but they need to be defending because there are still super minions crashing in. There's still going to be Kerberos crashing in with the Hullbreaker on his own. He's going to be a tricky customer as a Zero is the one that they've decided to leave against him. Kriox doesn't manage to get the ball down, so we can't see how low the Baron is. It's going to go super low. It's going to be taken down uncontested, and Kerberos is going to be able to sit back and relax. This is huge for Dusty.
Mid lane and bot lane inhibitors have spawned. The Elder Dragon buff has run out, if I'm not wrong, at this point. And that means that we could potentially be looking down the last fight of this game.
I think it's going to have to be, surely. The thing is, Vanir, even if they win this fight, they've got a lot of clay to move through, a lot of structures to take down.
And they've got Sion.
Yeah, that's true. You are right. The sun and they are late, so a lot of items have been picked up. DenVoksne looking to clear out Mirbs. Won't be able to do so, but you've got to imagine this is going to be the final fight. Kerb in the bot lane. You've got to keep your eyes on him as well if he starts creating mischief looking towards the inhibitor. But they can't afford to send too many members because the mid lane inhibitor's fallen down. Dusty are just creating the pressure onto the Nexus. These minions are going to be tough to clear out on their own, let alone with the enemy champions. Kerb takes down the third inhibitors. Doubles are spawning once again as Vanir are looking to defend. Ericsson was the target of Kerberos. Ultimately, he's half health and had to back away. Can't get the pop, can't get the heal coming on through as Vanir, stalwart once again, are just sitting back and saying, come into us, we won this fight.
Lilia ultimate has been used. Kriox has been so spot on with those. And right now that it's not a factor, Dusty can actually push in. The only thing they have to be scared of is that Seraphine ult. But there's still two cleanses onto Backland and DenVoksne.
Ericsson can't find the ultimate either. That could be massive as now the top lane inhibitor is going to be cleared out once again. Dusty need to try and push forward, but they also need to be careful. The overextension could be disastrous. We saw it once. Will it happen again? Kerberos on the bot side is just looking to heal up, cut through the minion waves and create pressure towards this Nexus. But Vanir, they're just clearing away. They're just defending.
What is going on?
They're just able to sustain through this one. They're taking shifts back to the Nexus as DenVoksne goes below half health. Now they're looking to get onto it though. Enough means of pushing through them. Maybe they can try and get towards them. Remember, get towards the Nexus, puts the damage down the center. Ultimate comes on through to keep Ericsson alive. The knuckle on the set might be enough, but Kerb is going to dive towards the side. He won't be able to get the kill though. But they're looking to target the Nexus now as Kerb dives through, and finally they managed to crack it open. 43 minutes into the game, Dusty finally secure the win.
What just happened?
The Nexus exploded.
I have no idea what in the world I was looking at this entire game. It was Kerberos literally versus the world. It was 200 CS up, his opponent top laner. He was wreaking havoc on the side lane, taking inhibitors, taking Nexus towers, taking Nexuses themselves. It's like, it was insane. I think it wasn't Dusty's business to win this game, especially with how flawless that teamfight composition was from Vanir, but they just could not find these fights. And I feel like they left Kerberos unchecked on a side lane to the point where an 18 level Fiora is just going to tear apart all of your side lane structures.
And I mean, a couple of people who are very aware of Kerberos's work in the past, and of course in that game, are our analyst desk. We're going to be jumping over to them to see what they made of it.
Well, this was a game. This was a long game with a lot of things to talk about. So I need my analysts at full potential. Because on one side, we had a team that were fully in control. You're like, they're going to win. But then, Fiora.
Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick.
Okay.
We talked about it in the side lane, no matter what. So if we go back to the draft, right? You remember?
Yep. Yes.
Sion, Aatrox coming through. Jamada, he said it. This Fiora matchup, no matter what, was going to get the best of both worlds. It was a win-win situation for the R5 to come through. It's a good matchup either way. Fiora's not supposed to just dominate the early game and just take it away from there. Fiora's never been an early game champion. Fiora's been the kind of champion that you leave her untouched in the mid to late game. She will just take care of these towers, even more ever since she got her buff where her Q works in towers as well. And we saw that in this game. It was Dusty just moving Kerberos around, first starting off at the top side, then moving it down towards the bottom side. And once again, it came to the point that if you ever send Sion to Fiora, she's just going to ignore him. She's never going to do anything. And just like that, he started taking away these turrets.
You're talking about TikTok, but they did have Sion and Senna, two menacing late game. But Senna win Moonstone, Leandris for Seraphine.
I think there was just like no real late game threat, it felt like, from the side of Vanir that could actually deal with that. And it's kind of strange because when you have this like Senna Seraphine, like great, it scales, but not side lane. It doesn't scale on the side lane. It's for team fighting. And Dusty have a composition where realistically, at most, they're going to meet you with 4 and a half if like the Fiora teleports to a dragon fight, which we saw a couple of times, but even then that wasn't even really the successful points of the game for Dusty.
I generally just think that the team comp that came through from Vanir, had this game been only about team fights, they would have taken it. And I think you see that quite well in a B-roll like this. Yes, it's a 4 versus 5 situation, but even then, it's the fact that you have Lilia paired up with the amount of CC that can come through in the backline. You just don't win at Dusty in these scenarios. But what you will pay attention to is the fact that Fiora, sorry, I said 5 versus 4. It is, of course, 4 versus 4. With Kerberos keeping the Aatrox in the top lane. Because you need to have this. It's the pressure that Kerberos continuously brings to the team.
Yeah, and I hope we get to see more games like this with split pushes in this meta.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because I feel like because, you know, the games were decided so quickly on the previous patch, on 12.9 and before, it felt like teams were pigeonholed into effectively only drafting.
It's a lost art, you know?
Yeah, it is. You know what? You say it almost sarcastically. Split pushing is a bit of a lost art.
I meant it.
Oh, you meant it. Well, there you go.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. Teams just have forgotten, it feels like, because dragons are so pivotal, because the soul is so pivotal to just playing League of Legends in its current state, that we don't get to see it too frequently. Kerberos is one of those legacy players who was he was the side lane menace. He was the guy. Jax trimmed him in. It was absolutely ridiculous. And there's just loads of moments like this on the bureau where, I mean, Kerberos is just outright taking towers in front of people's faces and then diving them underneath this. This is the inhibitor tower about just before 30 minutes into the game, I think. Like, it was absolutely absurd.
And it just created so much pressure. We don't see it here, but Sion then had to TP in.
Yep.
Does that matter for the Fiora to take down turret?
No!
Absolutely not.
It was a sleep though, yeah.
This Sion literally doesn't do anything. It goes back to the old meme, that guy was right from Reddit all the years back, but either way, Kerberos, I think you put him on a pedestal in this game. Had he not been having the Fiora performance he did this game, I think Dusty for sure would have faltered to the pressure we saw in the early to mid game coming through from Vanir.
So, from one side, Vanir did take into account the entire champion select. We're like, okay, we got you. Whatever you throw at us on the top side, they didn't account to the split push god. That's what we're counting into it.
Are you asking a question or are you making a statement? Because your statement is correct.
I'm making a statement and I'm making a transition into the interviews with DenVoksne that is waiting with us. There you go. Okay, I got you. Well, this was a rough game, long game. Talk to me about team fights. Before we go into Fiora, talk to me about the plan on trying to win team fights versus the composition that they brought in.
Yeah, that was never gonna happen, and that was never the plan. We had like already the plan kind of from draft that Fiora is gonna be 1v9 on the side lane, and in theory I think we have 3 winning lanes, so it should be like a kind of quicker snowball. But I think we messed up a lot of things, and then the team fights became hard, obviously, because we were not as ahead as we should have been. So we couldn't stall as much time for the Fiora, and then we had to wait even more time. And then, you know, at some point it was still like they cannot deal with her at all. So that was just what we had to pray he would 1v9, and thankfully he did.
Was there any part of the game where you felt insecure that the Fiora could do the 1v9 in split push and get the base?
No, not really. Like that's kind of why we picked it. You know, we see their champs and we see, okay, no one can actually deal with this champ. Like both matchups are good Sion and Aatrox. They have no like AD carry that is usually good into Fiora. Yeah, Kerberos should be able to do it, and he's comfortable, and Fiora very comfortable. So it was just, okay, we have to wait and play around that, and we messed up, as I said, in the team fights, gave them engages and stuff like this, and then, yeah, obviously it made it harder for them. But
that is a lot of trust on one player in the team and all his experience. That is a lot of trust to take in. Tell me, how important was this victory for you guys? Because we're looking into the middle of the pack, and obviously you're facing versus someone that is looking for the same place that you're doing. How important was it for you?
Yeah, obviously we came back from a 0-2 week here, and it feels nice to get a win. It's not that great that how we won. I feel like that was we didn't show that many strengths, but at least we got the win, and I think that's the most important part. And then we hopefully can fix a lot of these things we didn't do very well at all, like laning phase and some of the dragon setups, our reset timings, our tempo. A lot of this just wasn't on point today. So
Okay, you did have a
Also
little bit
leave
of time to practice with the 12.10 and find not weird, but different picks. Everybody is approaching the meta in a different way. Do you believe this durability patch is allowing you guys, you players, to bring not the usual sort of picks or to get different windows into the game and give you more liberty into the game?
Honestly, I think there was way more opportunities to pick like a lot of different stuff in the last patch, but I think people were just unwilling to do it. Like you saw us with the Soraka and stuff. I think that strategy has been made a lot worse now, but I still think there's a lot of things you can pick. For example, the Fiora here hasn't seen much play, and other late game scaling champs, and I feel like it takes, as I said, as I've said before, it takes a bit of time to really get comfortable on the patch. And I think last week we for sure weren't ready, and today we showed we were more ready, but still a long way to go.
Whatever the future holds, at least you start this week with a win versus a team that is looking for the same spot as you are right now. So congratulations on that one. Thank you so much, and good luck on Wednesday.
Thank you, thank you.
I just want to say, if you thought that maybe why is he sitting in a bathroom or in...
I did it, but explain now.
So he goes to a campus called Campus Vejle. It's essentially an esport college in Denmark where we had loads of players. Colson attended there, Champion attended there back in the day as well. And it's basically just an industrialized building that they have renovated with a space for 200 PCs just sitting there with bootcamp facilities too. And players just take their high school there instead. So that's what that if you ask why was that his setup, it's not his home. He's sitting at an esport facility.
The cool thing is, every single time Goldberg is on the show, he's trying to convince me to go to Denmark.
I'm just bringing out a cool story we had here. I'm just saying.
It is a cool story. I would say it is a cool story. On the other side, though, you cannot always look into a game with happiness. We need to look into grief as well. This is why we're going to talk with Mirbs to understand what happened. Welcome back, Mirbs. Now on a different part of the NLC. So congratulations, by the way. I mean, this was a rough game for you guys. As soon as you saw the Fiora, did you understand what the composition was about?
Yeah, pretty much. We knew that they wanted to split push because, yeah, we used to have a better teamfight comp. But we didn't really play to it. I think we just let Fiora do whatever she wanted, and it got out of hand eventually.
I have to be honest with you. When I see Mirbs' name, whenever I see Mirbs' name, I'm like, okay, this is going to be a hyper carry. He's gonna style on those kids. He's gonna style on those kids. He's gonna do it. And then you bring the Seraphine, and you bring the Leandris. And I was confused. Is this a new approach that the team is taking, specifically with specific champion select, or do we get to see more champion pool coming out of Mirbs?
I mean, the Seraphine was just specific kind of how I wanted to play like this game. I think more there's a lot of more to come. I think I'm not only a hyper carry player, so I will show something else.
No, it's good to see more faces from Mirbs, obviously. I like to see you play hyper carries, but it's good to see more champions coming out of you. Tell me something. As soon as the Fiora got the bleeding going on, was there ever a plan to come back from that specific position? What went through your guys' minds as soon as you saw the Fiora just split pushing non-stop and reaching the inhibitor turrets?
I don't know. We just went crazy on the wave clear, and we just were looking on a team fight. But yeah, they just played with range and never really gave us an opening. Besides that one good fight we had in the base, but yeah, it was a bit rough. I think we just got choked out.
I made this question for DenVoksne. On one side, I'm going to do the opposite for you. How tough is to take this L versus a team that is looking for the same spot as you guys are? Because you were tied up 2-2, and now losing versus a team that is facing you on. How tough is it for you and the team? How are you feeling?
I think the game, we're quite happy with the game anyway. We have had a pretty rough week of scrims, but I think we did a pretty good showing today. We only missed the part where we let Fiora do whatever she wanted, and yeah, we select on that. But I think for the future, I think we will be looking much stronger and yeah, looking to beat them, I think. this is just a slip, and yeah, won't happen again.
It's the best start on the week, but it doesn't matter, by the way. Congratulations. Whatever happens, I don't care if you're playing Seraphine, if you're playing upper carries. It's just a pleasure to see you play more often. So thank you so much for the interview, and I'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
As soon as we saw the Fiora, I mean, hands on deck. What do we do?
I mean, yeah, we kind of, as soon as we saw the Fiora get locked in draft, we were just like, there is realistically no answer. Try your best to shut it down in the early game at best, but even then, Fiora works really well as an answer into Lilia, into the CC that the Aatrox can provide as well. Like,
the one thing you can do to do it is that if you win the Drake fights that they did do in the beginning, and you get an advantage on one opposite side of the map, but then you swap your entire strong side to play into the Fiora. So you're playing in a group scenario where Fiora will need help. All of a sudden, you turn Fiora into a team fighting champion, and then you can fight on your front. But it's very unique, and as we've already mentioned, it's so long ago that we've actually had split push win conditions. So all of a sudden, these teams are going to have to adapt to something that they didn't have to on former patches.
Yeah, and I feel like it's such a nuanced situation these days. Like you said, because it doesn't show up as frequently, and also even at the kind of windows you do that is what, like Herald, sort of like 8 to 12 minutes, and teams just don't really full rotate their bottom side to the top side of the map anymore like they used to. It's effectively, you know, half roam from the AD and then the support goes all the way up. You don't see these full lane swaps to shut down those split pushes like that these days. And yeah, I think things like that just kind of played into Fiora just getting, you know, effectively a free laning phase into hitting 2 items super early on in the game. And as well as credits to Dusty for, you know, dropping the Herald towards the top side, getting Kerberos super far ahead and accelerated, because like we saw there was just no answer for Vanir, unfortunately.
It's a victory for the team that is actually going for 3rd place, if I'm not mistaken. So let's take a look into the standings. And don't you dare, though. Let's see how the standings are right now. And there you go. They are on 3rd place. Astralis is right behind them, getting closer on Bifrost at this moment, and we're finally getting to see some formation on the standings. I'm not going to look into Goldberg, I'm going to look into you, Jamad. It's our conversation right now.
A little bit, but unfortunately, I feel like Bifrost by the end of the day will probably be sole possession of 2nd place, because they have their tax return game today. Team Singularity is up on the schedule for them, so I have a feeling that we might see them being 4-2. And that Dusty, unfortunately, shouldn't be contesting them for 2nd place at the end of the day.
Do it.
I think he's right.
Yeah.